step on your fins. You go ahead.
DD Form 214 is a certificate from the U.S. military that lists everything about your service. The date and place of duty, the date and place of release, assignments, rank, education, MOS, job specialty, decorations, medals, everything. Doug Muchler produced this document. He was telling the truth. Once Linda reported on the pyramid, other people started coming forward with their own accounts of the Dark Pyramid. Marty Johnson and Lee Pearson's stories come from their sons who heard them firsthand. Linda heard from a retired naval captain stationed in Alaska. He noticed that aircraft communications always malfunctioned when flying over a certain area, east of Unalakleet and west of Mount Denali. Radar showed massive electromagnetic energy coming from the area. When the captain saw the report about the Chinese nuclear test, he thought the pyramid could be the problem. So he did the logical thing. He reported it to his superior officer.
Stupid.
Soon after, he was told to be quiet or face court-martial.
Told ya.
Lee Pearson's son, Bruce, believes his father's story. In fact, he thinks his father gave him enough information to find the location of the Dark Pyramid. So Bruce took that information, went to Alaska, hired a plane, and...
And?
He might have found it. Bruce Pearson's father said the Dark Pyramid was east of Unalakleet and west of Mount Denali, so Bruce hired a pilot to take him to that location. If the base was out there, there would be signs of human activity. After almost 2 hours of flying, they came across a patch of land that looked squared off.
Go back over that spot again. Yeah. That's not natural. That is not natural.
It's not a perfect square, but there are right angles and straight lines. When they came around for another pass, they found the remains of an old road, a road that doesn't appear on any maps. And the most amazing discovery of all, they found an old airstrip. This also does not appear on any maps. So at some point in the past, somebody was using that road and airstrip for something. The nearest marked road is almost 100 miles away. This area is also pretty close to coordinates sent to Linda Moulton Howe by another retired Navy officer. This is the location. Using Google Earth, some people claim they can see an outline of a former compound or structure. I'm not sure I can make anything out, but I linked the coordinates below if you want to see for yourself. One man actually hiked to the coordinates to see with his own eyes. In May 2020, Nathan Campbell hired a plane to fly him to Carey Lake in Denali National Park, just a few miles from the pyramid's alleged location. He told the pilot to pick him up at the same location in 4 months.
4 months?
Yep, but Nathan was prepared. He had good gear, plenty of food, and a satellite communicator to let him radio his family. But after just a few weeks, he stopped checking in. A search team found his campsite. His gear was still there, but no Nathan. He kept a diary. The last entry said, "Went to get water." He's never been found. Some speculate that he actually was found, that he discovered the location of the Dark Pyramid and was deleted. But something to keep in mind, the location of the Dark Pyramid is in the Alaska Triangle.
Ah! The underground base!
Yep. For 20 years, the CIA operated Project Stargate. This was essentially a psychic spy project. Stargate did a lot of different things, but its primary focus was remote viewing. Remote viewing is projecting your consciousness to any place on Earth.
Project Stargate link below. But if you were psychic, you already knew that.
One of the most talented remote viewers was Pat Price. Pat was able to see an underground base hidden inside a mountain right in the middle of the Alaska Triangle, Mount Hayes.
Mount motherfucking Hayes.
Okay, that's enough.
Mount motherfucking Hayes link below.
Pat discovered that the base was operated by humans and aliens working together. I bring this up because Linda Moulton Howe found a witness who remote viewed the Dark Pyramid. She first saw a small building. She went in. Then she saw an elevator that went hundreds of feet down. She followed that. Then she found herself in what looked like a military facility. There was a lab. Then she saw a huge black sloped wall. She pulled away a bit. It was the Dark Pyramid. All around the pyramid was equipment, lights, people working. It was very busy. She scanned the area and found a network of hallways and tunnels. She saw offices, sleeping areas, a kitchen. Finally, she found herself with a group of people being taken on a tour by the facility's leader. She was stunned. The tour guide was not human. It was human-like, but definitely not human. Then she learned the true purpose of the Dark Pyramid. It is an energy device. It's a charging station for UFOs. There have been over 6,500 UFO sightings in the Alaska Triangle. It's one of the most active UFO hotspots in the world, and now we know why. The craft are using the pyramid for energy, and that's why the military never got it to work, and they never will. The aliens in charge don't work for us. We work for them. When Linda Moulton Howe exposed the Dark Pyramid in 2012, the story was a phenomenon, and it's easy to see why. We've got credible witnesses and evidence of human activity in the middle of the Alaskan wilderness. Thousands of people really do go missing in Alaska every year. There really are thousands of UFO sightings there. But is the Dark Pyramid real? Well, let's dissect it. Our first witness is Douglas Muchler, a former military intelligence officer. Now, believers in the story say he's a very credible witness. He's provided documents that prove he is exactly who he says he is. That's true. But if you follow this channel, you know how I feel about whistleblowers from military intelligence. I don't trust them. I'm not saying every one of them or any one of them is lying, but some of them are. We know Richard Doty's shady history of spreading disinformation within the UFO community. Hal Puthoff, Christopher Mellon, Luis Elizondo, David Grush, and now Doug Muchler, all whistleblowers, all connected to military intelligence. Now, I'm not saying Doug Muchler is lying, but I do view his story skeptically. In his defense, the Chinese did detonate an underground nuke on May 22nd, 1992. But that's 5 or 6 months earlier than Doug claims. But he waited 20 years to come forward. Maybe some of his details are hazy. He said almost 40 other soldiers saw the news report about the underground pyramid. None of those soldiers have come forward. If you go to Linda's website, earthfiles.com, you could see the original emails Doug sent to her. The details change a little over time. At some point, he says China informed the UN about the underground test. That didn't happen. When the nuke went off in May, the world was taken by surprise, and the UN condemned the test. Still, he says this happened late November, early December 1992. There was no nuclear test done then. There just wasn't. So there'd be no news report of it. But what's interesting is there was a major earthquake in Egypt in October 1992. The earthquake was a 5.3, the highest ever recorded in the area. At least 500 people died. The UN did come in to provide aid and monitor any damage to the ancient sites. There was news coverage of that for weeks because people were worried about the Sphinx and the pyramids. Now, it's possible, it's even likely, that Doug is conflating a few different memories. And there's no shame in that. Human memory is notoriously bad. But what about Lee Pearson and his son Bruce? Well, we only have Bruce's word. Same with Marty Johnson. These were real people, no doubt, but they haven't given us any physical evidence, only their word. And what about remote viewers? Do you believe them? For the most part, I don't. But I do believe Pat Price saw something under Mount... Not only do I believe in Pat Price's ability, I believe he was killed because of it. Check out the episode on Project 8200. I get into all the details. The last and most important name in the story is Linda Moulton Howe. I followed her work for years. She was great whenever she was on Coast to Coast with Art Bell. But she is a true believer. Yes, she does her homework, but she goes into a story believing it, and she focuses on investigating details to support the story. Lots of UFO and paranormal researchers do this. Almost all of them do. I approach these stories from the other side. I go in not believing, but I don't focus on debunking. I honestly try to find as much evidence as I can to defend a hard-to-believe story. Sometimes after researching, I'll change my mind. I thought the hollow moon theory was nonsense until I did an episode on it. Now I'm pretty sure the moon is weird. I thought crop circles were 100% man-made, but after researching, I can tell you this for sure. Almost 100% are man-made, but there are a few that can't be explained or debunked. They just can't. I don't know if there's a pyramid buried in Alaska, but if there is, I'm pretty sure it can generate energy, just like the Great Pyramid of Giza did when the Anunnaki built it 130,000 years ago. Prove me wrong. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. My name is AJ, that's Hecklefish.
Jump up, and get down.
This has been the Y-Files. If you had fun or learned anything, do him a favor, like, subscribe, comment, share. That stuff really helps him out. And like most topics we cover on this channel, today's was recommended by you. So if there's a story you'd like to see or learn more about, go to theyfiles.com/tips. Remember, the Y-Files is also a podcast. I know, another compilation. But I promised you a new video last week, and you got it. And you're getting a new one next week. I promise. We're getting caught up. In the next few weeks, we'll have more CIA cover-ups, some UFO stories. I'd also like to talk about portals and stargates.
Yes.
I think you're going to like what's coming. So today, we're revisiting ancient mysteries, and we do a lot of those on the channel, but I try to keep these compilations under or about 3 hours, so maybe we'll have to follow up with part 2 at some point.
We're gonna need more than that.
We probably are. All right, we're going to start with the ancient city found in the Grand Canyon. A man named G.E. Kincaid allegedly found an ancient underground city full of relics that he thought looked Egyptian or maybe from the Far East, but they were definitely thousands of years old. It was even covered in local newspapers, but then Kincaid called the Smithsonian, then suddenly the story disappears.
The Smithsonian covers up a lot of stuff.
They do. Their shenanigans are sprinkled all over the channel, and they have millions of artifacts that we're just not allowed to see. And don't try to visit the part of the canyon where this ancient city allegedly is, because if you do, out of nowhere, you're going to see unmarked planes and black helicopters, and I'm going to show you this in the episode.
Hey, since we fund the Smithsonian, shouldn't we be able to audit them anytime we want?
Well, I think we should be able to audit any part of the government we want. It's our money.
Audit the Smithsonian and audit the Fed.
Amen, brother.
Wow. Didn't even know what's been told us.
Hang on, honey, hang on. I'm gonna deal with it. Just give me a second. Will you calm down? Hey, human!
What are you doing?
I'm glad you're there. Look, I'm in the midst of an emergency. I need to borrow your car, $2,000, and 2 pair of your wife's patios.
What is going on? You were supposed to be here 2 days ago,
But there's been extenuating circumstances.
Extenuating circumstances.
It means beyond my control.
I know what it means.
Okay, so car, cash, pantyhose, stat.
Just calm down a minute. What is the emergency?
Gertie and I have a photo shoot for the Modern Goldfish.
What the heck is the Modern Goldfish?
Hello, it's a goldfish lifestyle magazine. You haven't seen copies of it in my bathroom?
Yeah, I don't go into your bathroom. I was in there 6 months ago, and I'm still in therapy.
What a snowflake. So the Modern Goldfish is doing a profile on me, and I got my Rolex, my bespoke suit, and now I just need a nice close shave.
What does any of this have to do with me?
Well, I need $2,000 for disposable razors.
$2,000 for razors?
Razors are expensive, and Gertie also needs a shave. I'm not using her razors again. You ever try to shave your face after your wife uses your razor for her legs?
Well, yeah, the razor gets dull.
Well, imagine your wife's legs were the size of a camel hump.
I don't want to imagine that.
Well, I used one of Gertie's razors, and I thought I was gonna rip one of my gills off. I don't want to damage my moneymaker.
God forbid. Look, you don't need any of those disposable razors. Just try Henson Shaving.
Oh, is that today's sponsor?
It sure is. Henson Shaving is a family-run aerospace business that makes a precision quality safety razor. The Henson AL13 has a cost of ownership that's way less than disposable or electric razors. It's completely plastic-free, and the replacement blades cost about 10 cents each, so you can always have a safe, close shave.
Ooh, this sounds fantastic.
It is, and there aren't any subscription programs or monthly deliveries. Just a solid, long-lasting, dependable razor. Click the link in the description to get your very own Henson AL13 and use the code THE-Y-FILES to get 100 free blades with your order. That'll give you 3 to 5 years worth of shaves.
Okay, I'm on it, but look, I'm still gonna need those pantyhose.
I know I'm gonna regret asking this, but why do you need a pair of pantyhose?
2 pairs.
Why do you need them?
Well, why do you think? After Gertie shaves her legs, she gets cold. Have you ever seen chicken skin on a camel's legs? It ain't pretty. So tell your wife to make with the pantyhose too sweet. What is it, baby? What is it? Hang on, I'll ask. Hey, yes, so, she wants you to make sure they're fishnets.
Yeah, this is not it. You don't want to fuck around and watch it.
In 1908, President Teddy Roosevelt wanted to declare the Grand Canyon off limits to all timber and mining operations. It would take another 11 years for Congress to designate the Grand Canyon a national park. Sensing a final opportunity for adventure, explorer G.E. Kincaid took a boat down the Colorado River and through the Grand Canyon. The canyon was rich in minerals like gold, silver, and copper, and Kincaid wanted to see what he could find before the area was closed off for good. About 40 miles upriver from the El Tovar Crystal Canyon, Kincaid saw stains in the sediment formation about 2,000 feet up. He tied off the boat and got out to investigate. Kincaid couldn't find a trail, but after a short hike, he found something interesting covered in desert brush. Steps, hundreds of them, carved in sandstone, steps that wound their way up to a high shelf on the side of the canyon. He followed the steps until he came across a cavern entrance, an entrance that was clearly man-made. Kincaid entered the cavern and turned on his flashlight. On the walls, he saw writing, but it wasn't English or Native American writing. It was ancient Egyptian hieroglyphics. Kincaid lifted his flashlight and saw that the tunnel ran far into the distance. He didn't realize it at the time, but this was only the beginning. When G.E. Kincaid tied off his small wooden boat to investigate the strange coloration of the rock wall, he was hoping to find clues that would lead him to a mineral deposit. He wasn't expecting to find hieroglyphics. When Kincaid noticed chisel marks in the walls, he drew his pistol, turned on another light, and slowly walked deeper into the gloom. He kept detailed notes of everything he saw.
The main passageway is about 12 feet wide, narrowing to 9 feet toward the farther end. About 57 feet from the entrance, the first side passages branch off to the right and left, along which on both sides are a number of rooms about the size of ordinary living rooms of today, though some are 30 by 40 feet square. These are entered by oval-shaped doors and are ventilated by round air spaces through the walls into the passages. The walls are about 3 feet 6 inches in thickness. The passages are chiseled or hewn as straight as could be laid out by an engineer. The ceilings of many of the rooms converge to a center. The side passages near the entrance run at a sharp angle from the main hall, but toward the rear they gradually reach a right angle in direction.
G.E. Kincaid now realized he was in a huge complex. He estimated that as many as 50,000 people could have lived here. In some rooms he found granaries with shelves of glazed pottery, many of which still contained seeds. He found cooking areas and a huge dining hall. The rooms were full of ancient artifacts. Kincaid carefully wrapped a few small metal and ceramic objects for later study. Another large room Kincaid described as an area for metalwork, a technology that should not have existed in this area.
Here are found tools of all descriptions made of copper. These people undoubtedly knew the lost art of hardening this metal, which has been sought by chemicals for centuries without result. On a bench running around the workroom was some charcoal and other material probably used in the process. There's also slag and stuff similar to mat, showing that these ancients smelted ores, but so far no trace of where or how this was done has been discovered, nor the origin of the ore.
G.E. Kincaid explored the underground complex for several hours, still having no idea when this place was used, what it was used for, or who the builders were. Then he came across another large room, a crypt. The crypt had shelf upon shelf and row upon row of mummies, dozens of them. At this point, G.E. Kincaid realized that if he was going to explore this entire underground city, he was going to need help. G.E. Kincaid sent a few artifacts to the Smithsonian along with his notes of what he found. He requested financial and logistical support for what he felt was the most significant archaeological discovery ever made. The Smithsonian agreed. A few weeks later, Professor S.A. Jordan arrived with a team of about 40 scientists, researchers, and laborers to excavate and explore the ancient underground city. Now with more lights and manpower, the scientists realized that the cave system layout wasn't random. It was a symmetrical, deliberate design. The tunnels all led to a central chamber. In the chamber was a large statue of what Kincaid thought looked like Buddha.
Like butter.
Buddha.
What I say.
Over 100 feet from the entrance is the cross hall, several hundred feet long, in which are found the idol or image of the people's god sitting cross-legged with a lotus flower or lily in each hand. The cast of this face is oriental, and the carving in this cavern. The idol almost resembles Buddha, though the scientists are not certain as to what religious worship it represents. Taking into consideration everything found thus far, it is possible that this worship most resembles the ancient people of Tibet.
No, I didn't think we were allowed to say Oriental. Are we bringing that back?
We're not. This was written over 100 years ago. So.
Oh, right, when we had freedom of speech.
No, Oriental in this context just means Eastern. Because of this discovery, Kincaid's team started calling the complex the Citadel. The crypt was one of the bigger rooms discovered. Now, with enough light, Kincaid was able to fully describe what he saw.
The walls slant back at an angle of about 35 degrees. On these are tiers of mummies, each one occupying a separate hewn shelf. At the head of each is a small bench, on which is found copper cups and pieces of broken swords. Some of the mummies are covered with clay, and all are wrapped in a bark fabric. The urns or cups on the lower tiers are crude, while as the higher shelves are reached, the urns are finer in design, showing a later stage of civilization. It is worthy of note that all the mummies examined so far have proved to be male, no children or females being buried here. This leads to the belief that this exterior section was the warriors' barracks.
Kincaid, Jordan, and the Smithsonian team explored the entire cave complex. They were overwhelmed with evidence that this was not some faraway temple occupied by a few priests. This was a huge city lived in by thousands of men, women, and children for hundreds or possibly thousands of years. The question nobody could answer was, who were they? By the end of the expedition, G.E. Kincaid and Professor Jordan's team had discovered hundreds of rooms, barracks, granaries, metalworking shops, temples, and many, many living quarters. Though most of the rooms were empty, thousands of artifacts were found. They found swords and shields made of copper, bronze, and a gray metal that scientists couldn't identify. They thought it looked like platinum. They found pottery, urns, utensils for cooking, small yellow stones called cat's eyes, and large stone tablets, all engraved with hieroglyphics.
On all the urns or walls over doorways and tablets of stone which were found by the image are the mysterious hieroglyphics, the key to which the Smithsonian Institute hopes yet to discover. The engraving on the tablets probably has something to do with the religion of the people. Similar hieroglyphics have been found in southern Arizona. Among the pictorial writings, only 2 animals are found. One is of prehistoric type.
Even with all the relics and all the writing Kincaid and Jordan found, they were still no closer to determining who built the Citadel in the Grand Canyon. They thought some of the statues looked Tibetan, but they weren't quite right. They thought the writing looked Egyptian. Again, that wasn't quite right. There were experts on site, none of whom could identify the statues or translate any of the text. But there were 2 things that the researchers could agree on. One, the civilization that built the Citadel was very advanced, far more advanced than the native tribes that occupied the area for a few thousand years. This now lost civilization worked bronze many years before the Bronze Age began. They understood division of labor and agriculture when every other society on Earth was presumably still hunting and gathering. These are discoveries that went against everything that was taught in mainstream archaeology and anthropology. A civilization like this shouldn't exist.
Ooh, what was the second thing?
What?
Well, you said the eggheads agreed on 2 things. What was the second thing?
Right. They agreed that the civilization that built the Citadel in the Grand Canyon didn't emerge there locally. This civilization arrived there from the other side of the world. Kincaid and Professor Jordan sent boxes of artifacts and books full of notes and drawings back to the Smithsonian, along with their hypothesis that an ancient civilization existed in the Grand Canyon thousands of years before Native Americans arrived in North America. These people were technologically advanced, educated, skilled, and spiritually complex. And these people originated somehow in Egypt or Asia. Kincaid wanted more resources and a larger team to help them research the Citadel and search the Grand Canyon for more evidence of this lost civilization. Their request was denied, and G.E. Kincaid and Professor S.A. Jordan were never heard from again.
Son of a
In northern Arizona is one of the most spectacular natural wonders on Earth, the Grand Canyon. Carved over millions of years by the Colorado River, The Grand Canyon is more than just a pretty landscape and a spot for tourists to take selfies. It's a place of deep spiritual significance for the people who've lived in the area. The Hopi, Navajo, Zuni, Apache, and several other tribes have lived around the Grand Canyon for several thousand years. They still do. Hopi mythology says that from the Grand Canyon, the first people of the world entered. The story says that many thousands of years ago, a reptilian race emerged.
Lizard people!
Yep.
Hey, how many times do lizard people have to come up in these stories before you believe in him?
I guess I'm gonna need a few more.
Lizard people are gonna keep popping up, you'll see.
Thousands of years ago, a reptilian race, lizard people emerged from the Grand Canyon and changed into humans.
Lizard people are shapeshifters.
That would seem to be true. Other Pueblo cultures like the Zuni and the Acoma have similar legends that there were people there before the tribes.
Lizard people legends?
Well, some legends say reptilians were there. Other legends say a race of giants were there.
Ooh!
And there are rumors that skeletons of giants have been discovered all over the western United States, but the evidence has been suppressed.
Suppressed by who?
The Smithsonian.
Of course.
Something I've learned from doing the show is that all myths and legends do carry a little bit of truth. We already have evidence that people landed in North America before Columbus. The Vikings famously explored and settled parts of Newfoundland 500 years before the quote-unquote New World was quote-unquote discovered. And there's growing evidence that ancient Chinese explorers landed in North and South America before the Vikings. But landing on the east or west coast of America is one thing. Getting to the Grand Canyon is a whole other thing. How could people get there? And even if they could, how did they have the technology to excavate millions of tons of rock in order to build an entire underground city? Well, we may have known the answer to that question for 1,000 years. Traveling from Europe and Asia to America thousands of years ago was almost impossible. Almost. Many brave people did it. But traveling to the Grand Canyon is a much more difficult task than landing on a California beach. To get to and build in the Grand Canyon requires technology. The Hopi have a very intriguing legend about the ant people. These are humanoid creatures that are smaller than humans with pale skin and large eyes like an insect.
Aliens.
According to legend, a series of cataclysms hit the earth many thousands of years ago.
Younger Dryas.
The Hopi were on the verge of being destroyed. A sky god emerged from what they called a moving star.
UFO.
The sky god brought the Hopi to the ant people, who escorted them to underground caves for protection. The sky god then got back into his moving star and flew off above the clouds. The Paiute have a legend about the Havmusuvs. They're usually described as being humanoid in shape with golden skin and large eyes.
Aliens.
They lived in a vast underground city and traded with faraway people. They possessed weapons that the Paiute described as silver tubes that shot lightning and can kill a man instantly.
Phases.
And the most interesting part of the Havmusuv legend? They supposedly flew silver canoes in the sky.
UFOs.
These craft made a humming sound and could maneuver like an eagle and move at great speeds. Most ancient cultures have a flood myth. They describe a global disaster that melted the ice caps and caused sea level to rise 400 feet. Entire cities were wiped out, maybe even entire continents.
Atlantis.
Most of these flood myths also talk about how, after the waters receded, a godlike people came down from the sky. These gods gave humans the gift of civilization and taught them things they had forgotten before the Great Flood. Things like writing, astronomy, and agriculture. Could the city in the Grand Canyon be evidence of this time in history? And if it is, why would anyone want to suppress it? All the information in today's episode comes from 2 front-page articles from the Phoenix Gazette published in 1909. In the years since, mainstream researchers have decided that the articles were a hoax, a fantastic story designed to sell newspapers.
19th century clickbait?
Yep.
The media hasn't changed much.
Unfortunately, that's true. But many people believe the story is real, and the Smithsonian is covering it up.
Smithsonian Public Relations, Marion speaking.
Hold on. Hello?
Hello?
I'm here. Sorry, I was on hold a long time.
How can I help you?
They transferred me to Marion.
Yes, this is Marion.
Okay, great. My name is AJ, and I'm with the Y-Files. We're a YouTube channel that covers mysteries.
Did you say you're from YouTube?
The Y-Files is a channel on YouTube, yes.
Okay.
Okay, I wanted to talk to you about an article that was in the Phoenix, Arizona Gazette in 1909, and they sent me to you. I was hoping to ask you a couple of questions about that.
Okay. here, let me stop you. No Egyptian artifacts of any kind have ever been found in North or South America.
Sounds like you've given that speech before.
Yes, I get this call a couple of times a year. I can tell you that the Smithsonian has never been involved in anything like this in the Grand Canyon or anywhere.
So, G.E. Kincaid,
There's no record of anyone by that name ever working for the Smithsonian. The whole thing is a hoax.
yeah, that's the prevailing belief, but the Smithsonian has been accused of covering this up, so
Yeah, I don't have a response to that.
you probably don't want to talk about giants or giant skeletons, huh?
And goodbye.
That's the official story. Kincaid's cave is a hoax, so no reason to try and find it, nothing to see here. Even Kincaid himself wanted to keep people out.
First, I would impress that the cavern is nearly inaccessible. The entrance is 1,486 feet down the sheer canyon wall. It is located on government land and no visitor will be allowed there under penalty of trespass. The scientists wish to work unmolested, without fear of archaeological discoveries being disturbed by curio or relic hunters. A trip there would be fruitless, and the visitor would be sent on his way.
Whether at the request of the Smithsonian or just to protect his find, it was clear that Kincaid wanted to dissuade people from finding the citadel. But even over 100 years later, that wouldn't stop people from trying. And some of those people, they say they found it. Jerry Wills and his wife Kathy have been studying the Kincaid Cave mystery for years. Their approach was find the original base camp of the explorers, which would lead them to the cave. After years of research and exploring the area where G.E. Kincaid said he found the cave, Jerry and Kathy found a location covered in artifacts from that time. And on the canyon wall just below this area, they believe is the entrance to the underground city. Exploring is difficult though. The entire area where the cave is supposed to be is designated off limits by the federal government.
You always saw that coming.
About 1,000 caves have been discovered in the Grand Canyon, many of them man-made, but only about 30 have been mapped, and many of those have been sealed.
Ooh, I close them off.
Oh, for your safety.
Oh, that's a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah, I don't buy the safety excuse either. There are plenty of people who'd be willing to take the risk, and they'd be willing to sign a waiver that says the government isn't responsible if something happens. In fact, people have tried this. The government still says no, it's due